We're in Yud Aleph Daled.
When one throws a distance of 4 amos in the sea is exempt. If there was a shallow pool of muddy water with a public domain passing through it, one who throws a distance of 4 amos in it is liable. How much is a shallow pool? Less than 10 tefachim. A shallow pool with a public domain passing through it, one throws a distance of 4 amos, and in it he is liable.
Sorry, I got a little glitch here. What mission are we on?
Yud Aleph Daled. No, Yud Aleph Hey now.
Yud Aleph Hey. Come back. Okay, there it is. One who throws an object from the sea to dry land, or from dry land to sea, or from the sea onto a boat, or from a boat into the sea, or from one boat to another, is exempt because the sea has the legal status of a carmelis. If boats are tied together, one may carry an object from one to the other on Shabbos. However, if they are not tied, even though they are adjacent, one may not carry from one to the other.
One who threw something and reminded himself after he had left his hand, or another person caught it, or a dog caught it, or it was burnt in flight, he is exempt. If one threw a stone with the intention of inflicting a wound upon either a man or beast, and he reminded himself when the wound had not yet been inflicted, he is exempt. This is the rule. All who are liable for sin offerings are not liable unless the beginning and the end of their acts are both inadvertent. If the beginning was inadvertent but the end was intentional, or if the beginning was intentional but the end was inadvertent, they are exempt unless their beginning and their end are inadvertent.
All right, so now that we've talked so much about carrying in the Rosh Hashanah, we're finally switching subjects. We're now talking about, we're going to go into the shiurim for various other malachas, how much a person has to perform in order to be chayiv. Starting with haboneh, kami yivneh v'yehei chayiv. How much does a person have to build in order to be chayiv? Haboneh kol shehu, any amount. Because any amount is a productive increase on the previous. There's no shear for it. However much you do is boneh. Misates, and also somebody who knocks something down in order to build. Misates is not just just banging something down that was built. It's got to be like a productive thing that you're leveling off the things that you can build something else on top of it. Okay, a makeh b'patish or matzad. Similarly, if somebody gives the makeh b'patish to the final blow of something that finishes the object, it doesn't matter how much you've changed. Or the matzad, matzad is a tool that is called a what?
Matzad, a sledgehammer.
Is it a sledgehammer? No, the patish is the hammer. What's after the hammer?
An anvil.
An anvil. Thank you. It's an anvil, right? So if somebody gives a blow on the anvil to finish it, just to give it the last smoothing blow, or somebody drills a small amount, even however much it is, that's a productive increase, is chayav. The general rule is anyone who, if you do a malacha, and the malacha is a miskayim. It's something that's a long-term change. It's not like boneh is not something where you took one stone and put it on top of another stone. That's not going to last. And then somebody else is going to walk around and kick it over. That's not called boneh. But if you put some kind of cement in between the two, that's boneh. And adds. Thank you very much. What's an adds?
That's what my translation puts it as. It looks, I don't know, I've seen them before.
Right. It looks like a hoe of some sort.
Yeah, like a hoe for woodworking, though.
Yeah. Carving, smoothing or carving wood. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Okay. Right. So back to our klal over here is that it's something that you do malacha, and the malacha is miskayim. It's a permanent change that you've effected. So that is that you chayav on. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel there, afa makeh b'kurnas ala sadan b'shas melacha, even knocking with the hammer on the anvil at the time of doing the malacha is chayav. Mipnei shehu k'mesaken melacha, because that itself is preparing he's smoothing the anvil for the sake of the melacha. Okay, Yeah. All right, but the halacha does not follow Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. And if somebody does smack his hammer against the anvil, that's not necessarily considered a chayav a chatas, because the anvil was complete before. Okay. Mishnah base hachoresh kol shehu, plowing any amount. Well, kol shehu basically enough that it's recognizable at least. Menakesh, weeding. When mekarsem is
Pruning.
the difference between menakesh and mekarsem is some kind is cutting off the dry branches. Mekarsem is cutting off dry branches from a tree. Mzared is pruning the fresh branches. Right. So pruning is so cutting off dead branches is basically to prevent infections in the tree, and cutting off the fresh branches is to encourage new growth in the directions that you want. In all cases, you chayav kol shehu, any amount. You cutting off one leaf or cutting off one fat branch. It doesn't matter. It's all one malacha. Okay. Hamalaket eitzim, gathering sticks. Im letaken, if the gathering sticks from the malaket is picking off the sticks from the tree. Im letaken, if his intention, this is where the difference is, what the shear is. If the idea is to be metaken the ground or the tree, okay, then it's kol shehen. And then it's however much you cut off, because your intention is to improve the tree, and just cutting off one branch is improving the tree. However, if it's im lehesek, if he's cutting firewood, then his shear is kadei levashel beitzakala. Then now we go back. Remember what we learned about carrying in the Rishus Harabim when you're taking out wood, it's the amount to cook a raw egg. And okay, so now it's the same amount. If your intention is for firewood, then your chiyuv is only for if you actually cut the amount of firewood that is an amount of firewood that's actually significant. So you see the kavana actually does make a difference over here, and you see it seems to me that this sounds a bit like Rabbi Shimon, where it's a malacha tzricha legufa, and where remember Rabbi Shimon says if you dig a hole, it's because you want the sand, you patur. And we had this machlokes between Rambam and everyone else as to whether the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda or not. Rabbi Shimon, whether the halacha is like Rabbi Shimon in this aspect or not. But this sounds a bit like this halacha is Rabbi Shimon's shita, because if it wasn't Rabbi Shimon, if it was the Tanna Kama, and said, well, so what? You're digging a hole. You didn't want the hole, but you got the hole. Okay, yeah, you didn't do this to repair the tree, but you repaired the tree. So if somebody cut less than the shear of wood, if they wanted firewood and they cut off a little bit of firewood and suddenly remembered, oh my gosh, it's Shabbos, now do I need to bring a chatas? So Rabbi Shimon will say, well, you intended to get firewood, you didn't get firewood, so that's not chayav. But I would say that the Tana who was against Rabbi Shimon would say, doesn't matter, you improved the tree. I didn't want to improve the tree. Doesn't matter. You improved the tree. So you'd be chayav for that. You have the machlokes over there. Anyway, that's the machlokes over there. Somebody who's gathering grasses, right? If he's doing it in order to mow his lawn and to have his lawn looking nice, kol shehen, any amount. However much you cut, you made it look better. If, however, he's cutting grass to feed to his animal, then it's got to be enough to be a mouthful for the goat. Okay, same principle as we saw in the previous statement of the Mishnah. Okay, that's him. Just want to see this footnote over here. Okay. A Mishnah Gimel. I will give you this footnote over here from the Kahati. it says that we've explained this malakat eitim as taking them from mechubar, from something that's connected to the ground, and that's the parish of Rashi and Bartanura, and Meiri and the Gra. But Tiferes Israel is saying that this Mishnah is actually talking about where they are already cut. In other words, the malacha here is ma'amer, or is that you're gathering into a pile. So that would be a different discussion. But I just wanted to mention that for interest's sake, that there is another parish on this Mishnah that's not necessarily talking about gathering something from that was connected to the ground. Okay. Mishnah Gimel, Hakosev Shtei Osios, somebody who writes two letters, Bein Bimino, Bein Bismono. It doesn't matter if it's with his left or his right hand. And I say, hold on a second, that's talking about somebody who's at least mildly ambidextrous. Mm-hmm. If somebody is purely right-handed and he writes something with his left hand, that is considered a shinoi. And that would not be, you would not be chayav for that, because that's mamash shinoi. A right-handed person never writes with his left hand. As if somebody is a little bit ambidextrous, even if he prefers his right hand, but he sometimes writes with his left hand, then then he would be chayav for that, for writing with his left hand. Okay. Bein mishem echad, bein mishnei shemos, and which means that did he write the same letter twice, or did he write two different letters? Now, why does that make a difference? If it's the same letter twice or two different letters? Because let's go back to the Mishkan. Why is Kosev involved in the Mishkan at all? Because the columns that they put around the columns, the boards that they put around the Mishkan, it wasn't just like an IKEA, take it apart, put it back together, however it comes together. Once a board had its place, that was its place. And they were very makpid that the same boards should always be put back in the same position, one next to the other in the right position. It wasn't just like they're all cut to the same size and shape, therefore they can all be put back in whichever order. So the way they would do that is they would write a little letter so aleph on the right side of one board would be written close to an aleph on the left side of the next board, and the base next to the base, and so on, so that you would have the order of things correct. So that's why you would think that maybe it's only if you have two letters. Why two letters? Because you've got to have, for it to be meaningful, they've got to match, and maybe those two letters have to be the same letters. So the Mishnah has to tell us it doesn't matter. Once we said two letters, it can be any two letters. And that's considered a chashuva act of writing once you're writing two letters. Okay. Bein mishnei samemanios, and it doesn't matter if it's two different types of ink. Is that right? Samemanios. Yeah, two different types of ink. It doesn't matter. B'chol lashon, doesn't matter what script, whether it's Hebrew, English, Greek, Russian. Each letter has its own significance. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yossi. So says Rabbi Yossi, Lo chivu shtei osios ela mishum roshem. It's the reason why it has to be two letters is because of roshem. So Rabbi Yossi says that even if he didn't write letters, he just wrote two symbols, right? If you put a triangle on one side and a triangle on the other side, that would have also sufficed, because that's so it's not dafka script that we're talking about. It's any kind of siman that a person puts on something. That would be chayav. So he's coming to be more machmir over here. Okay. It's not dafka that had to be an aleph and a base. It could have been a spiral and a triangle, or whatever kind of symbols. And therefore, he says that anything, you'd be chayav on anything over here.
It's not an act of nolad, though.
It's what?
Is it an act of nolad? That.
Okay, so why are you bringing nolad into it?
Because you're creating something. You're
okay. So I think what you've got it actually upside down. Nolad is not a malacha d'oraisa. Kosev is a malacha d'oraisa. Nolad is just something that happened, and we say, okay, since something is nolad, we're going to say it's muktzah. By the way, I see that my picture's frozen. Are you still there?
Yeah, but I can hear you perfectly.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Oh, you're back.
Great. So when we're talking about the concept of nolad, you've seen it in Beitza. Is that you've got is that something new has come into the world, and you're therefore not allowed to use it. But that's kind of more of a concept of muktzah, which is a din d'Rabbanan. Right, and what we're trying to do over here is see like what's your level of chiyuv for a chatas, which requires a chiyuv d'oraisa.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So kosev. So what's kosev? Tanna Kama says it has to be writing. It doesn't matter. It can be Cyrillic, English, Greek, whatever you want, but it's got to be writing. Whereas Rabbi Yossi says, forget writing. If you make a symbol, even some sort of symbol is an emoji. I mean, yeah, nowadays perhaps we can say that that Rabbi Yossi and the Tanna Kama have become reconciled because the emoji is now in the regular character set of it's considered part of the UTF encoding. Anyway,
I wonder if a few thousand years from now they might say, these guys copy the Egyptians, with all
yeah.
Right.
Okay, of course, in Al-Kasha, Mishkan Zeda Ezo Ben Zogo. Amar Rabbi. So Rabbi Yoda Nasi says, Matzinu Shem Katan Mishem Gadol. Says that it's it's possible to be chayav. Let's just understand what he's saying again. Matzinu Shem Katan Mishem Gadol. You can have a smaller name that is completed while you're busy writing a larger name. Shem Mishimon. Ushmuel. Okay, so the person was trying to write Shimon or Shmuel, but the first two letters already make a word. Noach mi Nachor, or Dan mi Daniel, or Gad mi Gadiel. So he's saying, so what's his intention? So he's coming to tell us that even if somebody intended to write the full name of Nachor, but as soon as he's written Nun Chet, he is chayav for that. Even though he hasn't completed what he was intending to do, since those two letters are a word. So the other assume parish that he's coming to make a machlokes on the Tanna Kama, because the Tanna Kama says that if somebody writes two different letters which are not a full word, to Tanna Kama, even if that's not a complete word. So I mean, you could write Gimel Hey, which is not a word. Okay, but he nonetheless be chayav, says the Tanna Kama. Okay, even if he was intending to write a larger word and he only wrote two letters. Hang on. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi comes and says he's only chayav if he writes two letters that are actually a full word. Even if his intention was to write a longer word, but he wrote the two letters that are a shorter word, then he would still be chayav. The halacha is that if somebody writes two letters, even if it's not a word, he is chayav, which is basically the Tanna Kama. But interestingly enough, according to Rabbi, Shem, if you're writing Shimon, you're going to write it with a regular mem, whereas Shem is with a mem sofet. So he holds that there's not enough difference between a mem and a mem sofet that you would say that he would be pater him, because even if that's basically just like a mistake in the word, but it's still a word. That's just a tangential note I would make over there.
Cool.
Okay.
We answered this, but why not one letter? It's still why it has to be one.
Why? Because there is a shir on it in the Torah. When they were writing on the krashim, it was they did it in order to match the two, and so it was only useful if there were two letters.
Okay, all right. We said it before, but I wasn't sure if that was okay.
Yeah. Okay. Ches Gimel.
Okay. The measure that determines liability for carrying out animal hide is equivalent to that which is used to make an amulet. The measure for carrying out doksos is a layer of animal hide, is equivalent to that which is used to write a mezuzah. I guess it's a type of parchment. The measure
Is Ches Gimel
Yeah, Ches Gimel.
in Shabbos?
Shabbos Ches Gimel.
I have something else, but okay.
Well, you're talking about the amounts of animal hide to make an amulet and parchment
Right,
to
okay.
make the smallest parch in the tefillin, right?
Okay. Okay.
the measure that determines liability for carrying out parchment is equivalent to that which is used to write the shortest portion of tefillin, which is Shema. I was under the impression that you use the same type of parchment in mezuzah and tefillin. It's that klaf.
Klaf. That's klaf is the word that we used in the second part of the Mishnah. The first one is just plain hide. Or
Oh, right. Mine adds in the mezuzah thing. Right. My translation adds in a thing that's not there.
Oh.
I don't know why they do that. So forget about the mezuzah. The measure that determines liability for carrying out ink is equivalent to that which is used to write two letters. There's our two letters again.
yes,
Because that's what you interested. Carrying the ink is a measure that you could do the isser of writing with.
exactly.
That's cool. The measure that determines liability for carrying out eyeshadow is equivalent to that which is used to paint one eye.
Right. Paste, enough to put at the end of a birdcatcher's board. Pitch or sulfur, enough to make a small hole therein. Wax, enough to put on the opening of a small hole. Crushed brick, enough to make the beginning of a gold refiner's crucible. Reb Yehuda says enough to repair a prop of a tripod. Coarse bran, enough to put the opening of a gold refiner's crucible. And quicklime, enough to smear a girl's smallest limb. Reb Yehuda says enough to flatten out the hair of her temples, and Reb Nechama says enough for a forehead plaster. I gotta look at this up myself. I gotta figure this out. Okay, go ahead.
The measure for liability of carrying out earth on Shabbos is equivalent to the seal of a large sack. This is Rabbi Akiva. And the Chachamim say that it's equivalent to the seal of a letter, which is significantly smaller. The measure for carrying out manure and fine sand is equivalent to that which is used to fertilize one stalk of cabbage. This is Rabbi Akiva. The Chachamim say it's equivalent to that which is used to fertilize a leek, which is less. The measure for determining liability for carrying out coarse sand is equivalent to that which is used to place on a full spoon of plaster. The measure that determines liability for carrying out a reed is equivalent to that which is used to make a quill. And if it was thick and unfit for writing, or if it was fragmented, its measure for liability is equivalent to that which is used to cook an egg most easily cooked. That's already beaten and placed in a stew pot.
Orla.
Before I forget to tell everybody, somebody is giving away a set of Mishnayos Kahati. So it was on the list if anybody's interested in that, or you know anybody who might be.
Thank you.
Okay. Orla, Gimel Hay. If an oven was heated with shells of orla and bread was baked in it, the bread must be burnt. If it became mixed up with others, it becomes void, 1 in 200.
If one has bundles of fenugreek, of kalaim in the vineyard, kalaim akarim, they must be burned. If they became mixed in with others, all of them must be burned. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. But the sages say they become neutralized in 201.
Rameya used to say, whatever is necessary to count renders holy. But the Chachamim say only 6 things render holy. Rabbi Akiva says 7, and they are the following. Perec nuts, pomegranates of Baden, sealed jars, beet shoots, cabbage heads, and Greek gourds. Rabbi Akiva says also householders' loaves, and whatever is liable to orla is orla, and to kela akaram is kela akaram.
Right, so just saying that the only thing, so Rabbi Meir says anything that's counted is never batal.
Mm-hmm.
It's sold by number. That can never be batal because it's too chashuv. But the Chachamim say only 6, and Rabbi Akiva says 7 things that are so chashuv that they won't be batal. All right. Shvius Yud Vav.
A prosbul may only be written for land. If he has none, it gives him title to part, however small, of his own field. If he has land held in pledge in the city, a prosbul may be written for it. Chutzpit says, one may write for a man concerning his wife's property, and for orphans concerning the guardian's property.
Okay. A beehive. Rabbi Eliezer says, behold, it's like the land, and a prosbul may be written, using it as security, and it is not susceptible to tuma while it remains in its place, and one who takes honey from it on Shabbos is liable. But the Chachamim say it is not like land. A prosbul may not be written using it as security. It is susceptible to tuma while in place, and one who takes honey from it on Shabbos is exempt.
If one repays his debt in the 7th year, he must say to him, I remit it. And if he said to him, even so, he may accept it from him, since it is written, and this is the word of the release. Similarly, if a murderer went into exile into a city of refuge, and the people of the city wanted to render honor to him, he must say to them, I am a murderer. If they said, even so, he may accept, since it is written, and this is the word of the slayer. Okay, after Shavuos, we're going to where?
Shvius is Trumos.
Trumos, okay. Taharos. Daled Yud.
Yep.
Reb Yossi says, Tuma uncertainty of beverages with regard to food, it is ruled Tameh. With regard to utensils, it is ruled Tahor. How so? If there were 2 barrels, one Tameh and one Tahor, and he made a dough using one of them, and it is uncertain whether he made it from the Tameh water, or he made it from the Tahor water, this is an uncertainty concerning beverages, which with regard to food is ruled Tameh, but with regard to utensils is ruled Tahor.
Having a hard time finding it, sorry.
In Daled Yud now?
Daled Yud.
Yeah.
Daled Yud.
Good Aleph.
Yud Aleph, sorry, yes.
Yud Aleph. Okay. If there is doubt concerning the hands as to whether they have contracted uncleanliness, have conveyed uncleanliness, or have attained cleanliness, they're deemed clean. Any doubt that arose in a public domain is deemed clean. A condition of doubt concerning an ordinance of the scribes. For instance, my commentary says, for instance, he's uncertain whether he ate unclean foods or drank unclean liquids, whether he immersed his head and the greater part of his body in drawn water, or whether there fell on his head and the greater part of the body 3 log of drawn water. Such a condition of doubt is deemed clean. But if a condition of doubt arose concerning a avatuma, even though it was only rabbinic, it is deemed unclean.
Sorry.
So just to make that distinction, if you have something where the nature of the tumah itself is a rabbinic thing, like eating tamei foods. Minatora, eating tamei food doesn't make you tamei, or drink or liquids, or rosha v'ruba b'mayim she'ovin. Those are all things where the act makes you tamei from an act of the sages. That's the way that the thing is transmitted is b'etzem rabbanan. So we'd say the suffix is the kula. However, if you have something which is an avatuma, even though it's only an avatuma because Chazal said that this thing is tamei, and that suffix is still tamei. For example, it says dam tavusa. So dam tavusa is that's the blood that's pooled out of a mace. It's not the so in a Torah it's not tamei, but since Chazal said it's tamei, we treated the suffix of touching that as tamei. Okay.
An uncertainty pertaining to chulin. This refers to the tahara of Perishus. An uncertainty concerning Siratzim, it is judged according to its status at the time of discovery. An uncertainty concerning afflictions of Ziras at the outset is deemed tahor as long as that one afflicted has not been confirmed to be tamei. But once he has been confirmed to be tamei, an uncertainty is deemed tamei. Uncertainty concerning Naziris is permitted and an uncertainty concerning firstborns, whether human firstborns or animal firstborns, either non-kosher or kosher, is decided leniently. For the title of proof is on the one who seeks to exact property from his fellow.
Yeah. Menachos, hey Zion.
Reb Shimon says there are three types of offerings, which between them require three procedures, two for each one, but not the third. They are the individual shlomin offerings, communal shlomin offerings, and the asham offerings of the Mitzvah. The individual shlomin offerings require leaning while living and waving when they're slaughtered, but they do not require waving while living. Communal shalom offerings require waving while living, and when slaughtered, they do not require leaning. The asham offering of the mitzvah requires leaning and waving while living, but it does not require waving when slaughtered.
One who takes a vow to bring a meal offering to the temple says, "It is incumbent upon me to bring a meal offering prepared in a mahavat, may not bring one prepared in a mar heshes."
The other one is a deep pan, one is a shallow pan. The machvat is a shallow pan, and marcheshes is a deep pan.
Okay. Similarly, if he said it's incumbent for me to bring a meal offering prepared in a shallow pan, he may not bring one prepared in a deep pan. What's the difference between a deep pan and a shallow pan? The deep pan has a cover where, no, the marheshes, the shallow pan has a cover, whereas the mavat, the deeper pan, does not have a cover.
I thought, is your translation making a machvat into the shallow pan? Into the deep pan.
Let's see. One who takes a vow. So I'm starting from the beginning again. One who takes a vow to bring a meal offering. He says, "It's on me in a mahavat, may not bring in a marheshes."
But how does he translate the machvat and marcheshes? Which
He doesn't.
Okay, so the machvat is the shallow pan, and the marcheshes is the deep pan.
Okay, so I'll start from the beginning with that in mind. So it's the shallow pan is the mahavat.
Yes.
Okay. One who takes a meal offering and says, "It's on me to bring a meal offering in a shallow pan, may not bring in a deep pan." Similarly, if he says in a deep pan, he can't bring in a shallow pan. What's the difference between the shallow pan and the deep pan? The shallow pan, the deep pan. The deep pan. It's hard with these translations. The deep pan has a cover, whereas the shallow pan does not have a cover. This is the statement of Rabbi Yossi HaGalili. Rabbi Hanina ben Gamliel says a marheshes, the shallow pan. No, the marheshes, the marheshes is deep. There you go. The marheshes is deep, and due to the large amount of oil, its product is softer because it moves about in the oil. A mahavat is flat, as the sides of the pan are level with the pan, and due to the small amount of oil, its product is hard.
It's interesting because in the art scroll that I have, they don't even discuss the size. They say the following Mishna discusses distinctions between the minchas machshavas and the minchas keshes. The machshavas and machshes were different utensils used to prepare the mincha. Precisely what distinguishes the machshavas from the machshes is the subject of a dispute. And it doesn't mention anything about size. It just says if someone specifically pledged to bring a mincha in a machshavas, he cannot fulfill his pledge by bringing a mincha prepared in a machshavas, keshes. In a machshavas, he may not bring fit in a machshavas. Doesn't say anything about the deep pan or shallow pan or anything, which I'm surprised because that would it's just talking about the utensils. That makes sense, Shaul? Or
I'm sorry. What are you asking?
Well, the pans are the utensils, huh?
I guess the pans are the utensils. They're not talking about shallow or not shallow or anything. They're not mentioning that at all.
Well, it's the nature of the utensil, and the Tanaim are discussing what's the difference. Where Rabbi Hanania ben Gamliel says the difference is the depth of the pan, whereas the first Tana was
it's just Tanakama.
So that's Rabbi Yossi HaGalili.
Oh, right.
Rabbi Yossi HaGalili says one's got to cover, the other one doesn't. But it's interesting that the Rabbi Hanan ben Gamliel says that look at the name Marcheshes Maaseh Rochashim is the same shoresh, so it's wobbly. Makes a wobbly sort of pastry. Whereas the machbat is hard. It's like a pancake.
Yeah, it says at the end it goes like
Yeah. And by the way, in modern Hebrew, a machbat is a frying pan.
Oh.
Okay.
That's what I get hit with. Okay, all right. If one said, "I take upon myself to bring in an oven," he may not bring something baked in a small stove, nor one baked on tiles, nor one baked in an Arabian cauldron. The Rabbi Yehuda says, if he wishes, he may bring that which is baked in a small stove. If he said, "I take upon myself to bring a baked mincha offering," he may not bring half as kalos and half as rikikin. Reb Shimon permits this because it is one offering. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, and the Dharm.
Yeah. Ches hey.
Okay. Until the rains, or until the rains are, it is forbidden until the second rain falls. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says, until the time for that rain arrives. Until the rain stop, it is forbidden until Nisan is over. These are the words of Reb Meir, and Reb Yehuda says until Pesach is over. If one says Kohanim wine in respect to my tasting it this year, and the year was extended, it is forbidden during it and during its extension until the start of Adar. It is forbidden until the start of the first Adar, until the end of Adar, and it is forbidden until the end of the first Adar. Reb Yehuda says if one says Kohanim wine with respect to my tasting, it's until Pesach. It is forbidden only until the night of Pesach, since its intention was only until the time when it was customary for people to drink wine.
Okay. Similarly, if he said, meat is konam for me, and for that reason I will not taste it until it will be the fast of Yom Kippur, he is prohibited from eating meat only until the eve, leil, of the fast. This is because it's understood that this individual intended for his vows to apply only until the time when it is customary for people to eat meat, the festive meal before the fast. And he didn't intend to prevent himself from being able to participate in that meal. Rabbi Yossi, his son, says, one who vows garlic is konam for me, and for that reason I will not taste it until it will be Shabbos, is prohibited for him to eat garlic only until the eve of Shabbos, as it's understood that this individual intended for his vow to apply only until the time when it is customary for people to eat garlic.
If someone said to another, Kohanim, whatever I benefit I might derive from you, unless you come and take for your children 1 kor of wheat and 2 barrels of wine, such a person can annul his neder without recourse to a sage. If he says to him, did you say that other than for my honor? That is my honor. And similarly, someone who says to another, Kohanim, whatever benefit you might derive from me, unless you come and give my son 1 kor of wheat and 2 barrels of wine, Meir says it is binding until he gives. The Kakaman, however, say this person too can annul his neder without recourse to a sage if he says it is if I have received. If they were urging him to marry his sister's daughter, and he said, Kohanim, whatever benefit she derives from me forever. Likewise, if one was divorcing his wife and said, Kohanim, from whatever benefit my wife derives from me forever, they're permitted to have benefits, since his intention was only for marriage. If he was urging another to eat with him, and he said, Kohanim, your house with respect to my entering it, or a drop of your cold water with respect to my tasting it, he is permitted to enter his house, to drink his cold water, for his intention was only for eating and drinking.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, gents.
Thank you. Everyone have a good day.
Have a good one.
Good day, everyone.
Well, be well. Bye, Riley.
Bye.